local people, local news and events, local sports, local matters. For all things Lloydminster area, this is Live with Kurt Price.
Hey, welcome inside the new Lloydminster Nissan home, the half-price oil change this April. Call 780-875 and 3555 and book your oil change today. Plus, you get 20% off on brakes, and that includes parts and labor all April here at the new Lloydminster Nissan, and selection is tremendous. The lot is full. Come take a look. Come take a test drive on a new Kicks, Armada, or a brand new Murano. They've all been completely redesigned. We have Aron Lundquist here from Diamond 7 Meats. He's going to be talking to us about interprovincial trade today. Now, everyone was talking about how important it was about probably 2 weeks ago, maybe even a month ago. This came up at the mention of tariffs from the United States, and everybody said, well, we need to start having no barriers in Canada. We need to knock down these interprovincial trade barriers. And you know what's been done about it? Absolutely nothing. So we'll find out from Aron here how knocking some of those barriers down would help his business, or maybe even hinder his business. We'll find out coming up in just a few minutes. Superior Water specializes in nothing but water, and with over 22 years in the business, they're proud and confident that their service and, of course, their water is superior. For iron filters, water softeners, reverse osmosis distillers, chlorine removal, and H2S odor removal, give Superior Water a call at 780-875-6636 or stop in at their 57th Avenue location. They're right beside Sheepskin Loft. And stay hydrated with pure, clean water. I drink Superior Water because I like the taste, and after all, it is superior water. The future of women's hockey is coming to Lloydminster for the 2025 SO Cup from April 20th to 26th. Watch the host Lloydminster Steelers face off against 5 regional champions from across Canada at the Centennial Civic Centre. Full event ticket packages are on sale now, starting at $90. Visit hockeycanada.ca/SO Cup to get your tickets and be there when Canada's women's under-18 club champions are crowned this spring. Well, this Friday is the 12-hour Play It Forward hockey game at the Service Sports Centre, with 48 players taking part in that. This is the 4th annual Play It Forward hockey game to raise funds for Border City Connects. Aaron Buckingham told us you can come down on Friday at any time between 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. That's when the 12-hour hockey game takes place, and you can make a donation, or you can head to bordercityconnects.com right now to support your favorite player.
You just pick your player that you want to support, you donate right online, and you get a tax receipt sent to you right from that donation. So it's easy to donate. I like that. The players don't have to go door to door and try and go business to business and try and get people to donate. They can if they want, but all they have to do is direct people to the Play It Forward page on the Border City Connects website, and you can pick your player and make your donation.
The B. Fisher Foundation is once again teaming up with Wickham Nurseryland for a Mother's Day fundraiser. B. Fisher is fundraising for a wheelchair-accessible van. Kim Crockett told us you can order a different variety of plants at bfisher.com right now.
So the hanging baskets, the tomatoes, the herbs, the tropical baskets, some of these ones that have been really popular for years, Wendy's continuing to offer them to people who want to purchase through our website.
You can also support the B. Fisher Foundation by booking a planting course or purchasing a gift certificate on the B. Fisher website as well. Umbrella Marketing and Design is proud to present Elevate 2025 on May the 10th, a day designed for young women ages 12 to 18 and their mother figures as well to develop life skills and keep them safe. Guest speakers include local individuals presenting empowerment sessions on everything from physical health to protecting yourself on social media. The keynote speaker is Jess Tatu, who will be sharing her inspiring story of leaving home at 15 and with hard work and determination building her empire around the Just For You day spas. For tickets, which include lunch, go to umbrella-inc.ca. The 13th annual Marwayne PBR is not that far off. The Canadian Pro Tour returns to Marwayne April 11th with wild pony races at 6:30, PBR at 7, and the dance immediately follows with music from the Prairie Dogs. Tickets are just $30. Get them at the door. 12 and under get in for free. That's always a really fun night. Get your nominations in today for Cupcakes for Caregivers, presented by Sobeys Lloydminster and the Lloydminster and District United Way. Caregivers can often be overlooked and taken for granted, and Cupcakes for Caregivers is a way to get them recognized for their commitment. Any and all caregivers are eligible, so you get your nominations in and help us recognize the unsung heroes of our community, from professional caregivers like doctors and nurses to family members to specialized caregivers like home care staff. We are excited to celebrate these incredible individuals, and if you have a deserving caregiver in your family or you know of one, send us an email to livewithkurtprice@gmail.com. They're committed, certified, reliable, and will help you get your life back. BioClean Disaster Services at 1-833-246-8326. BioClean Disaster Services is not only Lloydminster's local restoration company, they're also Lloydminster's largest restoration company. And taking care of your belongings and taking care of your property, that's so important, of course. But what is even more important is you and your family and getting you back to where you were before the disaster. So fire, flood, any kind of disaster hits, call the local restoration company, BioClean Disaster Services, 1-833-246-8326. They'll help you get your life back. We're got take a break here, and when we come back at the new Lloydminster Nissan, we've got Aron Lundquist joining us in a conversation I've been really excited to have about interprovincial trade barriers. We're going to learn a lot this morning about what has been done, what can be done, and if it can be done. Plus, Aaron's been telling me some of the rules and regulations. It'll make your head spin. We'll be right back.
At Diamond 7 Meats, we work with local farm families to provide a high-quality product and a great selection for you. Try our mouth-watering smokies, pulled pork, roast beef, and more, made pure and natural with no additives or fillers. We offer custom processing, and our experienced team works for you to provide a selection of sausage, burgers, and jerkies made to your specifications. Take your grilling to the next level with a Yoder smoker. Complete the grilling experience with Canadian-made, award-winning line of House of Q barbecue sauces. We're locally owned and operated, and we look forward to seeing you today.
At CK McKean Roofing, they understand what it took to put that roof over your head for your family. With over 20 years of experience under their belt, they strive to show you that with their workmanship and their integrity. Not all roofing companies are created equal. And that's why CK McKean Roofing encourages you to focus on your most important investments, your home and your family. CK McKean Roofing. Roofers do it on top.
At Lloydminster and District Co-op, membership matters more. Because being part of a co-op means you're connected to something bigger than yourself. From long-held legacy by those who built our communities, to people you call family, friends, and neighbors. When you're a Lloyd Co-op member, you're an owner in a local business that prides itself on purpose alongside profit. You earn cash back, you help support causes that matter most, and you're building a better way of life for the next generation. Membership matters more.
The brand new community of Wellings Lloydminster lives life to the fullest. At Wellings, their mission is to enable connection, build community, and enrich the lives of their 55-plus members. Discover a new way of living and retirement and experience more freedom with every choice you make. At Wellings of Lloydminster, independence speaks for itself, and the social opportunities outside your door are endless. Visit Wellings of Lloydminster at 3211 72nd Avenue on the Alberta side and discover more at wellingsoflloydminster.com. Well, I welcome you back inside the new Lloydminster Nissan. We're excited to have Aron Lundquist joining us this morning, talk about interprovincial trade. And this has been an ongoing issue at Diamond 7 Meats for quite some time. So as one of the owners and proprietors and meat cutters and chief bottle washer, Aron knows it all. But I just, let's get this out of the way first, Aron, because You told me something really interesting. You've worked on both sides of the border.
Yeah, so I started my meat processing career in 1995, went to Olds College, got my certificate in meat processing. That was a provincially inspected facility that we had at the college. I went from there, I spent a summer in Lacombe, worked for some great guys. They operated a uninspected facility where we could legally process, but everything had to be stamped uninspected, not for resale. I went from there back to Olds, worked in a great little facility where we didn't do any slaughter. We was just we were meat cutters, made a lot of sausage, things like that. Worked there for about 2.5 years, and then went down to Calgary and worked for Costco for about 8 months, which was a great organization, but realized that the city was not for me. Came back and bought our first store in Maidstone in 1999. So I spent 4 years working on the Alberta side, learning what the rules of Alberta were. When I came back to the Saskatchewan side, then I had to learn what the Saskatchewan laws were. How do we follow? How do we differ from Alberta? So then, not that Maidstone's that far up the highway, but it's a different world. We didn't really have the border issue as to what we have. When we moved to Lloydminster in 2003 and bought our second location there, we quickly came to realize we're a couple hundred feet off the Alberta border and there's do's and don'ts. How do I cross the highway? At that time, it wasn't hard. You just had to know what you can and can't do. Over the years, many conversations with the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, which we commonly refer to as CFIA, we were back and forth a ton because they knew that the border was an issue and we weren't real quiet about it. I'm sure they would like us to have been quiet, but unfortunately, doing business on both sides of the border, which we can, you just have to be limited as to which business you do on and how you proceed with it. When we had the store in Maidstone, we did a lot of processing for hunt farms. Saskatchewan was illegal to have game farm hunting. Huge industry for the province of Saskatchewan, where we would process primarily elk, a lot of bison, and then we would ship it all across North America. Totally legal. We would, when we initially started doing it, the game farm would provide documentation showing that it was a domestic animal. We would process it, take it to the Edmonton airport, fly it internationally. It would clear customs in the US and hunters would pick it up, and we sent hundreds of thousands of pounds of finished processed meat into the US, but for personal consumption. We could do that, no question about it. We process every day going back into the province of Alberta. People can come to our store, pick it up for personal consumption, take it back. But the minute it goes for the purpose of resale, it's a huge issue. And as of recent, with the threat of trade tariffs, everybody's panicking, oh gee. Well, this is nothing new. Like the whole interprovincial trade barriers, and it's not just limited to us in the meat industry. This is everything. Like, I don't know how we cross the border where we aren't affected. Little things like if I cross the highway in my truck with commercial plates on it, for personal, I can do that. But if I go to the feedlot to pick up beef, I have to have an exemption on my license to be able to cross the border for all my insurance reasons. In turn, we have the feedlot deliver all the beef to us because it's not worth getting the extra allocation on my insurance on my truck just across the border. It's all the little things. You'll hear about alcohol, you'll hear about food, you'll hear about everything. And yeah, I love the idea of opening up our border, opening up our country so that we can trade freely. I was excited years ago when Alberta College of Chiropractics made an agreement with the British Columbia College of Chiropractics that they would recognize each other's designation and not have to write board exams to go from province to province. If you're a doctor, a chiropractor, an acupuncturist, you can't just go practice your profession, even though you're licensed and you've written your boards. Doesn't mean you can still go from province to province to practice. You still have to be recognized when you want to switch a province. So I love the idea of us tearing down the barriers, but on our aspect, we have to deal with the CFIA. And the CFIA has always said not a chance. So look forward to seeing how this progresses over the coming months. Our federal government says that this is going to be happening by July 1st. I think, is that what they had said, was July 1st, there was going to be
Which federal government?
well, our current prime minister that
Right.
not to get political, but I haven't trusted anything coming out of federal government in 10 years now. You know, we have a lot of talk, we have a lot of promises that get made, and we don't see a lot of progress. So I would love to see if it was the provinces having a conversation, if Scott Moe was talking to Danielle Smith and we had our ag ministers talking about it, then I would believe it's going to happen. Right now, to the best of my knowledge, I don't think anything of that conversation is happening, but we'll see, because what the feds say and what the provinces say aren't always the same things.
So for me, Aaron, I look at like the safety standards in Alberta would be the safety standards in Saskatchewan. So when you're working in Alberta and then working in Saskatchewan, what are there any major different safety standards there?
Well, it's going to come back to a couple different things. So we operate under a Saskatchewan public health, so I'll go back. Saskatchewan has different standards or different tiers. Alberta has different tiers as well. So in Saskatchewan, we could operate under a provincial health or provincial inspection license. We can operate under a public health license, or if we were farm gating, we don't have to operate under any licensing.
What does farm gating mean?
It means you can work off the farm, and
Oh,
since you're
okay.
doing it off the farm, you don't have to meet anything. So
How does that make sense?
So we've gone through years and years of consultations and meetings with Saskatchewan Ag and Food where they keep talking about we're going to upgrade our licensing. And the last round of meetings we went to, we were called to North Battleford, and there must have been 20 of us sitting in the room. They went all across the province and they were getting everybody's opinions. And at the end of the meeting, they kept, we're gonna upgrade all our licensing. We're gonna figure out all the new laws with the exemption of farm gating. And I said, you guys are killing us. Like, you want to take everybody to the highest standard possible, which we're game for. You know, like, give us time to upgrade our facilities, because it's not just giving a designation. Like, you have to potentially redo sewer lines, redo electrical, to redo, like, it is major. Like, it'll cost millions of dollars for facilities to upgrade. But then at the end of the conversation was with the exemption of farm gating, because if you're on farm, well, you're doing it from the farm, so you actually don't need any licensing. And I said, here's the deal, guys. You go this route, and everybody's just going to take away their status, and we'll just go operate off a farm, and everybody will expand their businesses, and you're going to lose what your base is. They couldn't even tell us at that meeting how many farm gate processors were acting or what was happening with it. And nothing has came of it. I think that last meeting I sat in was, almost 10 years ago now. They've just quit having meetings. They don't know how to approach it. Alberta, there again, they'll operate under provincial, inspected, public health, uninspected, where you're still inspected for your facility, but not the meat itself. And then Alberta during COVID switched it to where some farm gating is permitted, but it's very tightly regulated. None of the farm gating go for the purpose of resale. It's more somebody could come and do a processing for themselves on farm. Whereas Alberta used to have it really locked down as to how many animals you're even allowed to process for personal consumption on farm. Alberta's laws were very tight in comparison to Saskatchewan. And then if we start talking British Columbia, they have a whole different set of laws. So when this whole conversation of who is going to give up a requirement, who's going to add a requirement, unless we have the provinces talking about this, the first thing the feds are going to do is come and say, okay, everybody's going to go to a federal standard, which nobody is. That's your Cargills, your JBSs, your Harmony Beef, your Britco pork, your Ole Mill pork. It's your big federal plants. But for us to upgrade to a federal facility, we would have to rip out our floors, redo our septic lines, take off our roof, take off our walls, and completely redo everything. So we would be talking a new from scratch facility in order to meet a federal requirement. So you don't just renovate an older building to a federal standard, because it's right from your sewer lines up. So it would be very interesting to see how the federal government wants to compromise on this, to take a Saskatchewan standard, which is different than the Alberta standard. Even if we were to all go provincial, the facilities have different requirements. The base inspection on the animal itself for health is still going to be the same. That's pretty universal. You're just checking for health of an animal when we're processing in the back. that would be very universal, but they would have to come to an agreement on what is a set standard for safety of the building, where the provinces have differences on that.
What's the reasoning behind having you rip up your floors, replace everything, basically build a new building? Like what justification is there to force you to do that? Like it wouldn't change your product at all.
No,
So
it would become a food safety thing. Like when we start talking federal requirements, it is very
I'm confused
strict.
though, because it goes from I can sell right now to Lloydminster in Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
But now if I have a new building, I can sell to Alberta, I can sell to BC, I can sell to, like,
Well,
it doesn't make sense to me that food doesn't change.
The food doesn't change. It's just the environment that it was processed in to ensure food safety.
But if it's okay for me to eat,
Yep.
why is it not okay for my cousin to eat in Vermilion or Vegreville or Edmonton? Like, that
Absolutely.
makes no sense.
So when we talk federal, everybody thinks Canada. Federal is Canada and 7 countries. So it's not just Canada. And
Okay.
the CFIA is very, very set on this, on federal being federal, because we import to our lowest Canadian standard. So the CFIA is concerned, and we had entered into a pilot project quite a few years ago. Jerry Ritz had tried to set this up, and if he hadn't turned it over to the CFIA, we would already have interprovincial trade. Jerry Ritz didn't know how to. He knew that there was a need for it. He recognized that. He tried to set it up where 2 processing facilities from every province were selected to participate in this, where we would be delegated as almost like a low-level federal facility, where we would be able to have interprovincial trade. The first thing he did was turn it over to the CFIA. The CFIA came out, went through our facility. The only thing they were going to compromise on was we didn't have to pave our unloading area where we unloaded livestock. Everything else had to be brought up to a federal standard. And their comment was, if we lower a standard within Canada, we lower what our import standard is. So now everybody's concerned about status, and that's all it's boiling down to, is how it is on paper. So does it affect the quality of the meat? Like, yes, the cleanliness of a facility makes a huge difference on the quality, but it still doesn't change if an animal is healthy when processed, an animal is healthy when consumed, irregardless of the province. And that, to us, is where we've kind of argued with where we live. I could process, and it can go for the purpose of resale anywhere in the province of Saskatchewan. No questions. We've supplied restaurants in Saskatoon. We've had to go all over the place for the purpose of resale. Zero issue. But I can't go to Vermilion, which is 30 minutes up the highway, for the purpose of resale. And we've had numerous groups approach us to try to get us to do a fundraiser with them. And I'll say, yeah, no problem, but we have to use a federal product that we can bring in, and then you could then sell a federal product so long as I don't open the cases and lose its federal status. But we can't do anything that we've processed ourselves from scratch, because then it becomes an interprovincial trade thing. And we've ran into the CFIA on those issues as well over the years.
So if you wanted to, so again, go back to, you had said, for personal consumption, you can come into Diamond 7 Meats, you can buy your beef there, take it home to Vermilion,
Yep.
and take it to Vegreville or wherever you want, have a barbecue, invite your friends over.
Yep.
And serve it there. But if you were to donate that beef, what would that do?
Oh, we ran into that.
Because you do donate beef here in
We do
Lloydminster.
lots. We've got our food bank program where we've worked with the Olive Tree for years. And how this program works is a producer will donate a beef. We will receive the beef. We do all the processing for free. We'll then give it to the nonprofit. We had a producer that wanted to give it to the food bank in Vermilion. That's ran under the Vermilion Catholic Church. We cannot do that. We had the Olive Tree, again, they're the only food bank in Canada that has a protein because of our program. They had some beef that the Edmonton Food Bank found out that they had. Edmonton wanted to trade them for peanut butter. Lloydminster had no peanut butter, and they said, can we do this trade? So I inquired with the CFIA, and they said, absolutely not. That's a Saskatchewan product in Saskatchewan. If we find that in Edmonton at the food bank there, even though no money has changed hands, it's not for the purpose of resale, we will seize it and destroy the entire shipment, because that's a Saskatchewan product going for distribution in Alberta. And we said, well, how? And they wouldn't even have the conversation. It's just strictly off limits. So in turn, we work with the Olive Tree, and we can do this. We'll annually do about 30,000 pounds of beef a year into Lloydminster or into Saskatchewan. The stuff that we work with the Olive Tree will stay strictly within the city of Lloydminster, to whether it goes to seniors, low income, the Olive Tree Kitchen. They redistribute it to within other nonprofits and groups within Lloydminster, and it has a huge impact on people's quality of lives. But we cannot carry that program across the border and support the food banks in Vermilion because it'll be considered cross-border trading. And it makes us shake our head every time we have the conversation. But on paper in Ottawa, this makes sense. When it comes to real life, we still shake our heads. How is this possible? We've had the CFI fly out from Montreal on 2 different occasions to reprimand us, where they came out with a team to really lay it to us. And when they left, they said, well, guys, it was nice talking with you. We're not sure how we're ever going to address this. Have a great day, and off they went.
Okay, they were upset about the program that you're doing with the Olive Tree?
No, well, different again. We had one of our original bison processors that we worked with. They operate under the name of Cranberry Craze Bison Jerky. They were going all over Saskatchewan, and they had, at the time, got it into the Husky truck stop in Lloydminster, which is inspected by Saskatchewan Public Health, because the entire city of Lloydminster is inspected for public health under Saskatchewan Public Health jurisdiction. So Judy felt that she was safe being within the Saskatchewan Public Health jurisdiction in Lloydminster, so they agreed, yeah, we'll sell your jerky. One of the competitor jerky companies made a complaint to the CFIA. CFI came down, seized it, locked it in the Husky broom closet, seized it, and then contacted us to have a meeting about this. They had to get permission from Saskatchewan CFIA. The inspector came in, sits down, and it's a really big official meeting, you know, like, you guys are in a lot of trouble. And we're like, well, we didn't do anything. We're a processor. Like, we didn't cross a border. No, but your customer did. We said, yeah, and it's within Saskatchewan Public Health. How is this illegal? We haven't crossed any boundaries. Yeah, you crossed the federal line. That line in the sand you can't cross. We said, okay, so we're gonna make counter this. I want all the restaurants on the Saskatchewan side that are buying produce and vegetables and meat going back to the restaurants. I want that all inspected too. Oh, geez, you guys. How are we gonna deal with this? I said, I don't know, you tell me. But if you can seize our customers, 20 packages of jerky or whatever it was a relatively small amount. If you can seize that, I want it to stop flowing the other way. And we probably discussed it for an hour, 2 hours, I don't know how long it was. And he goes, I just don't see an out of this. Yeah, I hope to retire before this can of worms is ever officially opened. And he just walked away. He released the jerky and just said, don't do it again, because the next guy, we're not sure how to deal with this. We're gonna have to start laying fines instead of warnings. Well, but we're within our public health jurisdiction. And that's where Lloydminster was always very difficult for CFIA, is the provinces can recognize that we're one city, but the feds can't. So they would, send in an Alberta inspector to inspect anything food inspection on the Alberta side, a Saskatchewan CFI inspector. So even though it's fed, they still have their provincial inspectors, and it's a big deal for them to cross the jurisdiction line. But the provinces can do it no problem, where Alberta says, you know what? You're one city, Saskatchewan, take it over. So the entire city of Lloydminster is inspector in Saskatchewan Public Health. So that was our first, okay, how do we deal with this border? And we had been talking border issues with the provinces for years, the CFIA for years. And we've ran into numerous businesses where they wanted to work with us. And we had to say, you know what? You're inspected by the same public health inspector I'm inspected by. Everything is still the same, but the line in the sand is a line in the sand. So how are we going to work around this? And we had one amazing little community business open in Lloydminster. They were raising beef on their farm. We were processing it, and they wanted to take it and sell it through their store, but on the Alberta side. And we got a verbal okay from the CFIA to do that, but they would never give it to us in writing. And that was shortly after this jerky incident went down. And they said, you know what, we're not going to come inspect this unless we get complaints. So don't rock the boat. and just don't make a big deal about it. And they verbally told us, do it, but no way would they ever give it in writing, because then we would have it in writing, and it would end somebody's career if that was ever found out that they had verbally said it. So we supplied the store for years, and we had a great business relationship. They had amazing products, no questions asked, but we could never get that in writing because nobody from CFIA has the authority to ever do that.
Okay, is that why I can go to Three Trees now and right on their menu, they have a steak that says Diamond 7 meat steak?
Yeah, legally we sure can do that now that we have the carve out from the
But it's a
good
verbal
work.
agreement.
No, now the Chamber of Commerce lobbied and did an amazing job.
I remember
So
that because they talked about a
thanks.
sandwich you couldn't make it at in your store and then sell at the gas
Yeah,
station.
so
I
the
remember that, and
Lloydminster
we had Terry
Co-op
Lynn in.
had, they've had the same fights as that we've had. Is they've got a world-class grocery store on the Alberta side of the highway, fantastic gas bars with convenience on the Saskatchewan side of the highway, and they were 100% illegal to send it from their one store to their other store because it crossed the highway, and like literally crossed the highway. We're not traveling any more than 5 minutes, and they were super illegal. So the Chamber of Commerce, Terry Lynn, I don't know how she achieved it, but she achieved it, where she worked with the CFIA to get them to give a temporary carve out as a 1 year, will this work? After the year, excuse me, the CFI came back and said, yeah, this works, no issues. This is now the normal for Lloydminster. So Lloydminster as a city has a carve out where anybody from Saskatchewan can bring product into the city of Lloydminster and stay within the city of Lloydminster boundaries. And then vice versa. Alberta can come into the city of Lloydminster, sell at the farmers markets, but they can't leave the city boundaries going to Saskatchewan. So Lloydminster now has a permanent carve out that the CFIA has recognized. So then, yes, our steaks can be sold legally at Three Trees, which is a fantastic community-owned business serving high quality, and that's why we're proud to work with Jim, is because of the hard work that they do. And the hard work that the Chamber of Commerce did made that all possible in a legal manner. Whereas before, it would have been completely taboo because we were crossing the highway, but still working within our public health jurisdiction. And that's where we would get really, really frustrated.
So still, the lady from Judy
Yeah.
couldn't sell her beef jerky though because she's not in Lloydminster.
No, yeah, so she could bring it and go right to the very far west edge of Lloydminster. She could sell it in the Canadian Tire
She can
parking
do
lot.
it now.
She can do it now because of the carve out. At the
Even
time,
though she's from Lashburn.
yeah, anywhere. You could come from Weyburn and sell
Oh,
it.
just within the city,
But it
okay.
has to stay, excuse me, within the city of Lloydminster jurisdiction. You cannot leave the boundaries of the city.
Right, okay. Okay, I get it now.
So for farmers markets, that was a very, very big deal, is because we had lots of our clients that were raising product on their farm. We were processing it, and they wanted to go to the service credit, or the service
Sports Center.
farmers market. Couldn't do it. The CFIA got involved. The line is a line. So we would have guys coming in selling meat from 2 hours away into the Saskatchewan Public Health inspected farmers market on the Alberta side, totally fine. But we couldn't have our product cross over the highway, come a couple of miles south within the same city. Our product was illegal to be sold there. But they could go to the farmers market at the museum, no problem. But then the Alberta guys could be on this side of the highway to farmers market, but they couldn't cross the highway. So because of the hard work of the Chamber of Commerce, we can now have it flow both ways within the city of Lloydminster,
Just within the city of Lloydminster.
strictly within the city.
Now, if they do change these interprovincial barriers, we'll take a break and we'll ask Aron how that would help Diamond 7 Meats. We'll be right back.
How can you help support the oil and gas industry and jobs in Western Canada? The answer is closer than you think. Sell your scrap metals to PWM Steel. PWM sells scrap iron to Evraz, located in Regina. Evraz's #1 customer is the energy sector, building pipes and plates for the oil and gas industry. PWM Steel is your locally owned metal recycler and steel service center in the area. Plus, they're a strong supporter of the community. PWM Steel, your top steel supplier for Alberta and Saskatchewan for 40 years.
At Jason Arden Associates Cooperators, we're proud to be a top-rated local insurance company that offers flexible solutions and expert advice for all your insurance and investment needs. We'll work with you to tailor your insurance specific to your needs, and we offer investment advice that always puts you first. At Cooperators, one of our core values is to give back to the communities that we live in. Thanks to the support of our clients in Lloydminster and area, in 2023, Jason Arden Associates has donated $40,000 to local nonprofits, charities, students, athletes, and other special events. How does your insurance company support our community?
I'm Brian Zinchuk of PipelineOnline.ca. I used to be a pipeliner, and I've spent the last 15 years reporting on energy in Saskatchewan. PipelineOnline.ca provides comprehensive coverage of light oil, heavy oil, lithium, helium, power production including coal, wind, solar, geothermal, natural gas, and nuclear. There's a lot happening in Saskatchewan's energy sector, and Pipeline Online is there for all of it. No one else comes even close.
It's more than just taxes at LNA CPA. Assurance, accounting, retirement planning, estate planning, business consulting, financial consulting, farm program support, and bookkeeping. But yes, there is always taxes. The team at LNA CPA is committed to helping you achieve your best results and will be there to assist you every step of the way. LNA CPA, with offices in Provost, Vermilion, and Lloydminster.
Welcome back inside the new Lloydminster Nissan, home of the half-price oil change all April. Get your oil change done here at the new Lloydminster Nissan, plus brakes, 20% off. That includes parts and labors all month long. Pleased to have Aron Lundquist joining us this morning. We've been talking about interprovincial barriers that are up for trade. And one thing, if you watch a lot of news and you're aware of what's going on in our country, and you're I know this is a bad word, but if you watch CBC The National, you may have seen Aaron's dad on there. You may have seen Robert on The National one night. Yeah. I don't watch CBC, but somebody said it was on there, so I went and looked on their website for it. You guys have been doing having conversations with media right across the country.
Oh,
from one end to the other. What's that been like?
I don't know why they want to talk to us, but I've done morning shows out of Toronto. We've been talking to CBC Vancouver, Edmonton, Calgary. They flew out, and Dad was on The National.
Yeah.
You know, to us, it's like this is an old conversation, but we get a government that wants to create the illusion that they're supporting Canadians. They're trying to give the illusion that all of a sudden we're important. For years, they have not wanted to work with the average common Canadian, especially in Western Canada. They couldn't care less what we do, it feels like. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh, we need interprovincial trade. Well, take off your tariffs within the provinces, you know, like let Ontario wine go to BC, let BC wine go to Ontario. You have strictly Canadian oil and gas within our country. Like, why are we importing more than we consume of foreign energy? You know, like, why is our government all of a sudden so concerned that, you know, we have interprovincial trade when they haven't cared less about it not that long ago? Then to me, it's kind of a media stunt. You know, I just don't trust what they're up to, knowing that the challenges that we've been working through, like we've been in business for 26 years, and at no point have they ever tried to go easy on us. Like, we have conversations routinely with the provinces. The provinces are great to work with. They actually care about their industries within the province. But when we start talking anything on a federal level, yeah, interprovincial trade would be amazing. I hope we get there. It would significantly change the demographic of our business, because our business, our trade radius on custom processing, we cover Saskatchewan and Alberta. And I would easily say that our trade radius is a 3-hour drive anywhere within the vicinity of Lloydminster. I could tell you where I have a client in what community within a 3-hour radius. Like, our trade radius is enormous. I would love to say that that would be retail as well, not just on custom processing, but the border is the border. So we have to respect what it is, and we have to keep that very, very limited.
Well, just in your comment with the government and media, I'll go a step further and say the media has been complacent with it.
Yeah.
They've been eating it up. They've been using it in some situations to garner advertising and more like that. That's a completely different conversation, I think. But it all ties back to itself. Sure, you want to protect Canadian jobs, but you do nothing to do it yourself.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's complacent with both. You're saying one thing, but you're doing another.
Absolutely.
You can say all you want. You can turn on any radio station right across the country right now and hear this elbows up thing.
Yeah.
And we got to protect Canadian jobs, when basically they're really excited that the government is advertising with them to put that out there.
Absolutely.
It makes no sense to me. And a lot of what we've talking about today makes no sense to me either. It makes my head spin.
You know, like it's wonderful that Mark Carney gets Mike Myers, who hasn't been in Canada for how many years?
Well, neither is he.
He was a funny guy back in the day, you know, good actor, but get a relevant Canadian. Like, if you truly want to support Canadians, bring real average everyday Canadians on. You know, like, this is how we live our lives. Like, we live in plus 40 to minus 40 every day, depending on the season. Like, that's what it means to be Canadian. And the whole elbows up thing, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me anymore. You know, like, I have action speaks louder than words. You know, like, if somebody truly wants to be working with, allow me to go work with my surrounding communities. Let us take a rancher that wants to raise beef or pork or bison or elk, and let me process it for him. Let him take it back to his business on the Alberta side and sell it to give themselves their best possible opportunity to get themselves ahead. Because the better they do, the better their community does. And if we don't allow our businesses to support themselves, our communities will never grow and build. So if we want to truly have the best Canada we can have, yeah, interprovincial trade that makes sense would be amazing. And to say that, oh, it has to be federal because we have to, you know, maintain for our lowest import standards. Why? You know, like, I understand the vast majority of what we raise is exported. Last number I saw, something like 70% of what we raise is exported. So yeah, we have packing capacity within Canada, but the vast majority of what we consume is import within Canada. If you get into anywhere near a port, you're hard to find a Canadian product because it's all coming in on a ship, because all of our stuff has already been exported. And then what our Vancouvers, our Montreals, our major populations are consuming is an import product, because they're either too close to the border or too close to a port. And we import cheap and then we export our premium. And it's just how Canada's always worked.
I remember we were building our garage, and you know, we had pieces of wood there, and the carpenter would say, oh yeah, look at this piece of wood, like, send our good stuff out of the country, so now we got to deal with this.
Yeah.
You know, like, it was like, really?
Yeah.
But okay, what would it do, Aaron? Like, what would, if they were to get rid of these interprovincial barriers, what would it do for your business?
On the retail side, we could grow by 50% overnight. You know, all of a sudden we've got two very distinct different aspects of our business, where we're either custom processing, where we can service both sides of the border. I made reference to that earlier, where we were even going down to the States with hundreds of thousands of pounds a year of meat for personal consumption. Currently, as we sit right now as a business, we service both sides of the border for custom processing. But on our retail aspect of our store, we can only service the Saskatchewan side, with the exemption of the carve-out in Lloydminster on the Alberta side. But if all of a sudden we could start accessing our local communities and we could start working more closely with them, we have the potential to grow our retail side of our business by another 50%. So it's enormous.
So you could put hamburgers in hockey rinks.
Yeah.
That kind of thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Is that what we're talking about?
We could do everything. We could have a little grocery store. I'll pick on in Kitscoty. They've got an amazing little market there. We've processed for the family for personal over the years, and we've had the discussion about, wouldn't it be nice if we could supply your own meat to your own store? I can't do that, because of the minute it goes for the purpose of resale, we can't legally do that. So Kitscoty is 15 minutes up the highway. I can process for them as a family personally if they chose to come and do business with us, but we cannot possibly do it for their store. So in turn, they have to go to other processors, which I'm not offended by it because the law is the law. I understand it. But that would give us an opportunity to supply a store in the community to Kitsgotty with Kitsgotty raised products, processed locally, and then resold within their community. It's only going to benefit the community.
How far would it go? How far, like I don't hear you saying, I want my product in Vancouver. I don't hear you saying I want product in Toronto or Montreal or something like that.
For us,
you're saying I want it locally. I want it Kitsgotty. I want it in the hockey rink in Dewberry, Marwayne, and
I've always been a local person. After this many years in business, how big do you want to go? If I were to start having the Vancouver, Toronto conversation, I'd have to do a massive plant expansion, which potentially that would be a conversation. If I were to go to that level, I would actually, if I was going to build from scratch right now though, I'd build an EU standard facility, not a federal facility, because my eyes would not be on the Canadian market as much. I'd be looking at having every option open. So I would still be looking at what are the Canadian markets. We've had a lot of vendors approach us that if we were to ever build bigger, they would want to work with us. We've been in the business for a lot of years. We've got a very strict standard. We want to approach everything with the most upright integrity and honesty we can. And we've got some great relationships where we have the potential to go all over the place. I would have to do a massive expansion to do that, which is very possible. But at our current facility, I would want to focus on local. I would want to take care of our community needs, and what our surrounding area is. And I think that we have so much opportunity within even a 1 hour radius of Lloydminster of what could grow our business into. I don't think people realize how many people from Cold Lake, St. Paul, Elk Point, Manville, Minburn, Vegreville come to Lloydminster to do business. Like, it is a very, very important trade hub that we have here. And we see a lot of people that don't recognize the border. They just come to Lloydminster. Lloydminster has the advantage where we draw a lot of Saskatchewan businesses or consumers to Lloydminster, so they don't have to pay PST. When we were kids growing up in Saskatchewan, you always came to Lloydminster to go shopping. School supplies, clothing, stuff like that. It's a huge advantage. During COVID, Lloydminster was open. We had a restaurant tell us that people would come here for a staycation because they could come, stay in a hotel, go out for supper, and get their hair cut. Lloydminster took a huge economic boom because of COVID, because Saskatchewan chose to keep certain businesses open, and it did a lot of good for a lot of businesses. It was devastating to a lot of businesses, but we still were able to have our advantages to what our community has to offer. And we are firm believers and supporters that that's what we believe in.
So would you have to hire more people, Aaron, if they took the interprovincial trade barriers down?
Oh, yeah.
And you just talked about local, local alone, would you have to hire more people?
I would think right off the top of my head, I'd want 5 more people tomorrow.
Really?
Right now. Yeah. Because if we, right now with our retail, we're going to have 3 to 4 of us just for the retail aspect of the store. If we were to have that conversation of, okay, now we can start going into more restaurants, everything on the Alberta side, I need more people. Absolutely, that would create jobs.
What's the negative part of it? Wouldn't you have more competition too?
You have competition every day anyways. Within the city of Lloydminster, we have umpteen grocery stores. We have rumors of more grocery stores coming. There's always competition. You just have to be comfortable with the idea of there's other people in the market, and how can I best serve the needs of what the community is based off of what we're able to offer. So I'm sure there'd be negatives that would come up, but to say that competition would be one of them, absolutely not. Competition is healthy. If you only have one person offering a service, yeah, it's nice to corner the market, but I don't think the consumer's ever going to get the best service they can get, the best product they can get, because you would never have to compete to be better. We as a business have always had competition, and we're fine with that. When it comes to the processing side, we talk routinely with a lot of the other processors because we want to be on a friendly term. We're all in the same business. I'm not looking to steal their customers. I hope they're not looking to steal mine. But if they have questions, phone and ask me. Like, I've been in the business for a long time. I will give an opinion. I'm not going to tell you how to do it, but I'm not going to send you down a wild goose chase to tell you a fallacy. Like, competition is healthy within business.
So 2 weeks ago, even up to a month ago, I would say, everybody's talking about this.
Yeah.
This morning, you're watching the news and it's all about Trump running in Canada. It's about Trump running for a third term.
Distractions.
Nobody's talking about this now, Aaron. How do you get it back into, like, it seems like it was very popular, now it's not. And once it goes away, it seems to go away for good. There's a new shiny element over here. Everybody look at that.
Yeah. And that's
How do we
why,
get it back?
well, that's where, I don't know if we will. Like, to me, when they're talking about, we're going to have interprovincial trade achieved by July 1st, very excited for it, but I won't believe it till I see it. They have so many obstacles to overcome that they're not even talking about it. To me, it's the same rhetoric where they talk, we're going to build umpteen million houses to solve the housing crisis. We're going to, make everything more affordable. Nothing that our government has promised us has actually been. So when they talk, we're going to have interprovincial trade by July 1st, love the idea. Can't wait for it to come, but I'll believe it when I see it, because it is a huge obstacle that they're promising on that they don't know how they're going to deliver on. So yeah, huge economic benefit to our community, to us as a business, everything that would happen because of it. If they were to do that, the benefit for Canadians to have access to all across Canada, fantastic. But I'll believe it when we see it.
Well, it's like gas, They say, you're going to save 18 cents come April 1st. Well, guess what? In the last 2 weeks, it dropped 9 cents, then it went up 18 more cents.
Yeah.
Like, it's yeah, you're right. I'll believe it when I see it. So who's done what? Have you heard of anybody doing anything to get this started?
We haven't had the provinces reach out to us. So if they were to have an idea of how they're going to tackle this, I would love to think that they would at least contact industry. If they're going to talk meat processing interprovincially, Sask Ag and Food should have been talking to us from day one. They know who we are. We talk to them on a regular basis about other issues. You would think that Alberta would have reached out and been like, hey, you're right on the border. What's your inspection level? What's your policies? Can we come do a walkthrough? Can we set up a meeting? You would hope that something would happen. Nobody has had anything. The only conversation we've heard is via the media. Absolutely no branch of government has had the conversation other than media and high-level politicians saying that they're going to do something. But we've heard that before as well. So I don't know. Time will tell. But as we always say, actions speak louder than words. And right now there's a lot of words and no action. So
before I let you go, is there anything else?
Well, I don't know.
Like, we've talked a lot about it. But before we let you go, you mentioned your program at the Olive Tree. I just want to go into that a little bit more. Tell us a little bit more about how this program works with the Olive Tree.
Well, this started years and years ago. It was the Lloydminster Men's Shelter contacted us and said that, hey, we need some meat. We've got a $500 budget. What can we do? And I said, well, we'll work with you. We're going to get you as much as we can for $500. Leave it with me for a day or two. What do you have in mind? And they said, well, mostly just hamburger. We just need something to fit our budget to feed the most people possible we can. My next phone call was a farmer phones me and he says, hey, I got a cow. Do you want to buy her? And I said, well, I don't really need a cow right now, but I tell you what, the men's shelter is looking for a beef, but they only have a $500 budget. If they could buy your cow off you for $500, I'll donate the processing. Oh, well, they can just have it then. So, okay, we set it up, got them a beef, cost them nothing. We said, you know what, take your $500, help pay a power bill, pay a gas bill, pay whatever. And they said, well, would your producer like a tax receipt? I think he would. So it kind of grew and evolved over the years where we act as an independent third party, where a farmer will contact us, say, I have a animal I'd like to donate. We'll schedule a time, animal comes in, we'll process it, get it to the Olive Tree. And we've chosen to work with the Olive Tree because they are very well regulated, very well organized, and then they in turn can help service all the other nonprofit groups in Lloydminster. There was at one point in time where I was trying to coordinate and organize between 29 different nonprofit groups to see who had what, who needed what, where they're at, and that was a part-time job just in itself. So we tried to scale that back, become more efficient, and that's where the organization of the Olive Tree and their growth and expansion and goal for the community aligns with ours. And then we can turn it over to them and they can make sure that everybody's receiving it, is eligible. Nobody's double dipping, triple dipping on how much they're getting, so that it's properly distributed. So now a producer would phone us, we'd book the animal, process it, get it to the nonprofit group, and then the nonprofit group, which is the Olive Tree, then sends the farmer or the producer a tax receipt for the market value of what the animal was worth. So the producer still gets a tax advantage to the donation. And then we as a business just believe in it as a good community, integral part of our community to support it. So then we don't do any billing for any of the nonprofits. We'll go to the local 4-H sales, and there's a lot of businesses that'll buy a lamb, maybe buy a beef, and all of that we still won't charge the Olive Tree, and just make sure it goes to people that could really, really need it. Over the years, when we first started doing this, it was a lot of seniors, low income, people going to for the community meals, and now it is working families that, you know, kids are going to school, mom and dad are going to work, and they are just struggling in everyday life, and we are servicing every aspect of our community because of these. So if a producer wants to make the donation, they just reach out to us at the store, talk to us, we'll arrange a time for the animal to come in and know that they're going to get a tax receipt, and it goes 100% to the community. If we were to alleviate the interprovincial trade barrier, that can then go into other communities on the Alberta side, not just stay in Lloydminster and then go back to the Saskatchewan side.
Vermilion.
All over the place. It doesn't matter where you go. This could grow and become part of our every community. There's no reason why. Every community has a support system to make sure that people that need a hand can receive it. We would just like to be able to be part of that.
So is the barrier knocking down? Should you be talking to your MP or your MLA?
I don't know. To be honest, we talked to our MP. The first thing they're going to do is say, well, we got to talk to the CFIA. And we have great MPs. They work hard, but they have very limited, the CFIA doesn't answer to anybody. That is one of our biggest challenges with this CFIA, is as soon as you talk Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they get their funding from the federal government, but the federal government has no oversight over them. They have their own rules, their own regulations. How it is written is what they follow. When we talk to our MLAs, we're talking provincially, and I think our MLAs could do a lot of great things within our province, but the minute they say, well, we want to be able to talk to the Alberta, well, now it has to go through the CFIA. So until we can get the CFIA on board to allow our provinces to talk to each other, I don't know who would be more effective to have that conversation with. They're all going to work hard to do what they can do for our region as our elected officials, but everything is going to come back to, well, we got to talk to the CFIA. So until the CFIA gives a sign off that whether we have a buffer zone, however they want to achieve this, like I know that Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce, their next goal is to expand this zone that is been gifted to us. They would like to expand it to a 60-kilometer radius on either side of the border. How they make out with that, I'm excited to find out. They're very diligent in working towards this. I don't know if they'll be able to achieve it, because now we're talking to somebody in Ottawa, and if it doesn't look good on paper in Ottawa, it doesn't make sense, even though in real life it does make sense here.
How optimistic are you?
Well, I'm optimistic about everything every day.
Are you though?
I would love to think that given time, yeah, maybe we can achieve this, because I didn't think it was possible. And then the Lloydminster Chamber of Commerce was very diligent. They did not lay off, and they achieved it. So if they can do that, what's to stop them from doing the rest? Why can't we achieve a 60-kilometer buffer zone which could then grow to 100 kilometers, which then could grow to 300 kilometers. Before you know it, we could potentially have interprovincial trade. Maybe I can only go into Alberta or Manitoba, or maybe Alberta can only go into Saskatchewan or British Columbia. But it has to start somewhere.
Right.
And if we don't start with the small steps, which Lloydminster has done, how do we ever take our next step? But because we've got our first step done, it's time for the second step. So yeah, absolutely. I would like to think that given time, given proper support from government agencies such as the CFIE signing off saying, you know what, yeah, let's have a little buffer zone. Why not? Let's expand this a little bit and see how it's successful. I would love to think that they're going to get a lot of pressure from our MPs and our MLAs, our provincial leaders, our federal leaders. But yeah, if we can maintain the conversation, then we can grow into this. My fear is we're going to have an election at the end of April, and it's all going to disappear because it's just conversation to try to get a vote.
Yeah. For 4 years, it's gone away.
Well,
At least 4 years. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing that I find is, even if, we have an election and we're going to vote a Conservative here, and if the Liberals win, which they're projected to win somehow, some way in the polls, it limits the power. All of a sudden, your voice goes to a person who has a lesser voice.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It just goes up the chain, and nothing gets done because you can't contact directly your federal minister.
no.
I mean, you can try.
No, but we can, and that's, for us, we've always felt shut out by the federal government. So when we talk to our MPs, great people, work hard, but if we're not in power, we don't have recognized, we won't be recognized. We can talk to the CFIA, they're unbiased, but they're looking at something on paper that's over 3,000 kilometers away. They don't understand. Like, we had a team out of Montreal fly out on a couple of different occasions to really, they were going to read us a riot act and they were going to straighten us out, and they were going to make sure that we understood how everything was supposed to work. And they didn't realize
Why?
where.
Was this because of a jerk?
No, this was when we were entering into the federal pilot project.
Oh, okay.
And they couldn't understand why it was an issue. So they wanted to fly out and meet with a couple of different processing facilities that were right on borders to find out why this was an issue. Because on paper, this wasn't an issue. They were really balking it. Like, as soon as it got turned over to the CFIA, nothing was ever going to have to be given up. This is just how it is. We're going to run on a federal standard. Nothing has to change. Why is this an issue? And when they came out, we were trying to go through them and show them, like, see that set of traffic lights right there? Well, this was before the traffic lights, but you see that? See that big red building across the highway? That's Alberta. We can't go there. And they're like, well, and but on paper, in Montreal, where we flew from the office yesterday, this makes complete sense. And we're like, yeah, but that's my customer over there that I can't, they can buy it here, they can cross the highway, and if they try to sell it, that's going to kill somebody. But if we sell it on this side of the highway, totally safe.
Totally safe, yeah.
And they're baffled. They're like, well, wow. And they couldn't come up with an answer because on paper, 3,000 kilometers away, this made total sense. But that's what happens when we start growing too big of a government that loses touch with what the reality of the people are.
Well, I get frustrated because I go, why'd they have to come out of Montreal?
Well,
why is the CFIA out of Montreal?
Because that's the team that was tasked with that.
But there are members closer?
We've got a CFIA office in North Battleford that they do our quarterly inspections on. So we still get inspections by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency. We have quarterly inspections. We have a great inspector, works. We've got a whole team out of the North Battleford office. They'll come out, be like, hey, we're here for a surprise inspection. We're going to watch the guys work and make sure they're doing everything properly. Sure, sounds good. Go for it. Like, I'm not going to stand in the way. We're not going to hide anything. We just let the inspectors watch, see what they need to see, make sure all of our operating procedures are being handled properly. Everything's according to our specs, and away they go. So yeah, we see CFIA on a regular basis at North Battleford office, but every inspector has a different role. And in that particular instance, they were creating a new program that we were going to fall under. And it was since it was a Canadian-wide program. A team in Montreal was tasked with it. It made no sense to us, but they were going all across Canada to try to figure out why this was a problem.
Well, you can see how I don't trust anybody from the East.
Well,
Just the way it is. You know.
well,
Thank you, Aaron. Appreciate it.
well, we appreciate you allowing us on to put a voice to what our community is and try to make our community better. I think every day with your show, that's what your goal is make our community stronger, make it better, make it more viable to be a community. We've watched over the years our communities either blow up and become a city, or we lose our businesses, we lose our infrastructure, and we now have ghost towns all across the prairies. And all it takes is somebody like yourself having a show, bringing light to what the good things happening are, and we continue to allow our communities to grow. So good job. Thank you, Kurt.
Well, thank you. I like going in depth. I like to get a little more in depth, so I appreciate that. We'll be back tomorrow, and the show tomorrow we'll be talking to the Kids Got a Dinner Theater, and we've got some other stuff planned for you tomorrow as well. We'll start at 10 o'clock, and we hope you can join us.